My chosen one, listen carefully, because what you are about to hear is not ordinary, not coincidence, and not something you can afford to ignore. The atmosphere around you has shifted, and the spiritual realm has taken notice. There is urgency in this moment, a divine interruption meant only for you. The message carries weight, and the silence you feel right now, it is not empty. It is weighty. May 1st warning. Archangel Michael is not pleased. A heavenly notice has been issued against you. If you don't open this now, your shield is gone and tonight's attack will hit. This is not a threat born from fear, but a revelation born from truth. There are moments in life when heaven speaks softly, but this is not one of them. This is a call that cuts through delay, distraction, and doubt, because something has been detected. Something unseen hath been moving quietly, watching, waiting for a moment of weakness. And that moment it tried to choose tonight. But hear this clearly, Archangel Michael does not stand silent when danger approaches those marked for protection. His presence is not gentle in times of war. It is commanding, sharp, and precise. And right now, his attention is fixed on you. There has been a disruption in your spiritual shield. Not because you are abandoned, but because something has interfered. Distraction, delay, perhaps even doubt has created a small opening. And that opening, it hath been noticed. Forces that do not wish to see you rise have been circling, testing the edges, waiting for permission that was never meant to be given. This is why this message is urgent, because tonight carries a weight that cannot be ignored. You may have felt it already, a strange heaviness, a sudden unease, thoughts that do not feel like your own, or a pull towards something that drains rather than lifts you. These are not random. They are signals, indicators that something is attempting to reach you before you reach awareness. But here is the truth they did not want you to hear. You were warned in time. This message is not your end, it is your interception. Archangel Michael has issued this notice not out of anger, but out of protection. When he is not pleased, it is not rejection, it is correction. It is the sound of a warrior refusing to let you walk blindly into a battle you were never meant to fight unprepared. There is still time, but time is moving. The shield you carry is not automatic. It responds to alignment, awareness, and attention. And right now, you are being called back into that alignment. Not tomorrow, not later, now. Because what comes in darkness fears only one thing, light that is awake. And you are being awakened. Stay here. Do not scroll away. Because what is about to be revealed next will show you exactly what opened the door and how to close it before anything crosses the line meant to protect you. There is a reason your spirit felt unsettled before this moment. That quiet discomfort you tried to ignore, it was not your imagination. It was a signal, a whisper from within, trying to alert you that something in your spiritual environment had shifted out of alignment. And when alignment breaks, even slightly, it creates a ripple, one that can be sensed far beyond what your physical eyes can see. You were not meant to live exposed. You were designed to walk with a covering, a divine shield that responds to your awareness and your connection. But recently, something interrupted that flow. It may not have seemed significant at the time. A moment of hesitation, a lingering doubt, a choice that didn't feel entirely right, yet you moved forward anyway. These moments may appear small, but in the spiritual realm, they echo loudly. This is where the warning becomes clear. The issue is not that you are weak. The issue is that something has been quietly attempting to disconnect you from your strength. Distraction has been one of the main tools. Notice how your focus hath been pulled in different directions lately. How it had been harder to stay centered, harder to feel that clarity you once had. That is not accidental. That is strategic. And then there is the silence. Not peaceful silence, but a strange kind of quiet that feels heavy, almost like something is being withheld. That silence is where confusion grows. It is where hesitation begins to take root. And hesitation is exactly what lowers the shield. But hear this. Archangel Michael does not allow these patterns to continue without intervention. When he steps in, it is because something has crossed a threshold. And the threshold has been reached now. This is why the notice was issued. Because something has been observing your patterns, studying your responses, waiting for consistency in your distraction. Not to harm you randomly, but to find the exact moment when your guard is lowered enough to approach. And that moment was approaching quickly. Tonight was not chosen by chance. There are specific moments when spiritual resistance weakens if awareness is not restored. And tonight carries that kind of weight. The energy around this moment is intense, not because you are being targeted without reason, but because you are carrying something valuable, something that requires protection. You may not fully see it yet, but there is purpose attached to your life that has not gone unnoticed. And anything with purpose attracts both protection and opposition. This is the reality that many are not told. Light does not move without being seen. And once it is seen, it must be guarded. That is where you are right now. Standing at a point where awareness will either restore your shield or delay will weaken it further. But this message is not here to create fear. It is here to restore clarity. Because once you see what has been happening, it loses its power to operate unnoticed. And what is exposed can no longer move freely. So now, you must pay attention. What have you been allowing into your thoughts? What patterns have repeated without being questioned? What emotions have lingered longer than they should? These are not random reflections. These are the exact areas where openings begin. And yet, even now, you are not unprotected. Because the very fact that you are hearing this means intervention has already begun. Archangel Michael does not wait until the moment is lost. He steps in before the line is crossed. But he also requires your response. Protection is not forced. It is activated. And you are being called to activate it now. Stay focused. Because what comes next will reveal the exact signs that confirm this warning, the unmistakable signals that something was already attempting to move closer than it should. There are signs that cannot be explained away, patterns that repeat not by coincidence but by design. And what you are about to understand now may shake you, but it will also awaken you. Because the signals were never hidden. They were subtle, yes, but they were consistent. And now, they must be seen clearly. Think back to the recent days leading up to this moment. There were interruptions that didn't make sense. Delays that felt unnecessary. Plans that suddenly shifted without reason. You may have brushed them off as normal life disturbances, but in truth, they were disruptions aimed at your alignment. Small enough to ignore, yet powerful enough to redirect your focus. Then came the emotional shifts. Moments where your energy dropped without cause. A sudden wave of doubt where confidence once lived. Thoughts that didn't feel like your own. Whispering hesitation, fear, or even discouragement. These were not random thoughts. They were intrusions, subtle attempts to weaken your inner stability. Because once your emotions become unstable, your awareness begins to blur. And when awareness blurs, your shield begins to flicker. But the most undeniable sign was the feeling of being watched, not physically but spiritually. A picture, a presence, something you couldn't quite explain, yet you felt it in quiet moments. That was not imagination. That was sensitivity. Your spirit recognizing that something was trying to come closer than it should. This is exactly what triggered the response from Archangel Michael. He does not act without cause. His intervention is precise, purposeful, and always timed before impact. The heavenly notice issued against you was not a punishment. It was a divine alert. A declaration that something had reached a point where it required immediate awareness. Because tonight was being prepared as a moment of testing. Not a random attack, but a calculated attempt to reach you when your guard was lowered just enough. When distraction had done its work. When doubt had settled in just enough to delay your reaction. That is how these moments are orchestrated, not with chaos, but with quiet precision. But something disrupted that plan. This message. This exact moment you are in right now. You were not meant to receive this by accident. You were led here because the pattern had to be broken before it completed itself. And now that you see it, everything changes. Because awareness restores power. Now listen closely. Your shield is not gone. It was weakened, yes. It flickered. But it did not disappear. And that means it can be restored instantly. The moment you realign your focus and reclaim your authority. This is where your response matters. You cannot remain passive after receiving a warning like this. You cannot return to distraction as if nothing has been revealed. Because now you know. And knowing brings responsibility. Right now, you are standing at a spiritual checkpoint. A moment where your decision determines the outcome of what was approaching. Will you stay aware? Or will you drift back into the patterns that created the opening? Because the truth is this. What was approaching is not fully withdrawn yet. It has posed. It has hesitated. Because something unexpected happened, you woke up. And that changes everything. But you must stay awake. You must hold your awareness steady, your thoughts aligned, your focus clear. Because the moment you slip back into unconscious patterns, the opening begins again. And this is exactly why this message had to be delivered with urgency. On tomorrow. Not later. Now. You are not alone in this moment. Archangel Michael stands present, not distant. His role is not only to warn, but to defend, to restore, and to guide you back into full alignment. But even he does not override your free will. You must choose to stand in that protection. And that choice begins with awareness. Right now, as you hear these words, something is already shifting. The very act of listening, of paying attention, is strengthening what was weakened. This is how quickly things can change when you respond. But do not take this lightly. Because what almost reached you tonight was real. And what stopped it was this warning. So stay here. Stay focused. Because what is about to be revealed next will show you how to fully seal your shield, how to close every opening, and how to ensure that nothing like this comes close to you again. Type "I am protected" in the comments if you receive this message and are choosing to stand in your awareness now. Blessing code 5419 has just been activated over your path. And as this truth settles into your spirit, understand this: messages like this do not travel alone. They move through vessels, through voices, through divine timing. If this message reached you at the exact moment it needed to, it is because there is a greater mission unfolding. When you choose to support this channel, you are not just giving. You are sowing into a field where warnings become protection, where lost souls are redirected before impact. The word says, "Give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over." This is not just a verse. It is a living promise speaking directly into this moment. And I want you to hear this clearly. I feel led to say this to you. You are part of this mission. Every super thanks, every PayPal seed sown through the link in the description or through the QR code is not a transaction. It is a spiritual act. It is light being sent forward to reach someone before their moment of danger arrives. Do not hesitate when you feel that pull in your spirit. That is not pressure, that is invitation. When you give, you are aligning yourself with the flow of protection, of revelation, of divine timing. And as you release, heaven responds. Doors open, shields strengthen, paths clear. So act on that prompting now. Sow your seed. Release your support. Let your action become part of someone else's warning, someone else's protection. Because what you give today will echo in ways you may never fully see, but heaven records every part of it. There comes a moment after every warning where the atmosphere shifts from urgency to instruction. You are no longer being alerted, you are being equipped. And what you do in this moment determines whether the door that was nearly opened will be sealed permanently or left vulnerable to repeat itself again. Right now, your awareness has been restored. You can feel it. There is a clarity returning, a sense that something invisible has stepped back, as if it had been forced to pause. That is not your imagination. That is the direct result of intervention. When truth enters, confusion loses its place. When light rises, what was hiding can no longer move freely. But this is where many make a mistake. They receive the warning. They feel the shift. And then they slowly drift back into the same patterns that created the opening in the first place. Not intentionally, but gradually. And that gradual return is exactly how the cycle repeats. This is why what you are about to understand is critical. The shield you carry is not just a passive protection. It is an active state. It responds to your focus, your thoughts, your alignment. It is strengthened when you are aware, when you are intentional, when you remain connected to truth. But it weakens when you operate on autopilot, when your mind drifts without direction, when your energy is pulled into places it was never meant to stay. This is where discipline becomes protection. Not rigid control, but conscious awareness. Ask yourself honestly, where has your attention been going lately? What has been consuming your thoughts when you are alone? What emotions have been repeating without being corrected? These are not small questions. They are the exact points where your shield either strengthens or begins to thin. Because your thoughts are not neutral. They are signals. Every thought you entertain sends a message. It either aligns you with clarity and strength or it creates confusion and vulnerability. And over time, those signals build patterns. Patterns that either guard you or expose you. This is why Archangel Michael is calling your attention back, not just to the threat, but to the source of your strength. Because protection is not something you wait for. It is something you step into. And right now, you are being called to step into it fully. This means becoming aware of what enters your mind. Not every thought deserves your agreement. Not every feeling deserves your focus. Some things must be recognized and then released immediately. Because the longer you entertain what drains you, the more space it takes. And space is exactly what creates openings. But here is the shift. You are no longer unaware. You have seen the pattern. You have felt the interruption. And now, you have the authority to respond differently. That authority has always been yours. But now it has been activated through awareness. And when awareness and authority come together, your shield becomes unbreakable. This is how you close the door completely. You do not fight what was approaching. You outgrow the opening it needed. You rise above the frequency it was trying to reach. You become so aligned, so clear, so steady, that there is no access point left. And this is not something that takes days or weeks. It begins instantly, the moment you decide to remain aware. Right now, in this moment, as you listen to these words, you are already stepping into that higher state. You are already shifting out of the pattern that was being used against you. And the more you stay here, in awareness, in clarity, in intention, the stronger your shield becomes. But you must remain consistent, because consistency is what locks the door. Not effort for a moment, but awareness that continues. And this is exactly what the interruption was trying to prevent. It was not trying to overpower you. It was trying to distract you long enough to keep you from becoming consistent in your awareness. Because once you reach that level, it loses all access. And that is where you are being led now, into a state where nothing can reach you without being seen. Nothing can approach you without being stopped. Nothing can influence you without being recognized. This is not just protection. This is authority. And Archangel Michael is not just standing beside you in this moment. He is reinforcing what has already been placed within you. The strength, the clarity, the ability to remain aligned, it has always been there. Now it is being awakened. So do not go back to sleep. Do not return to unconscious patterns. Do not ignore what has been revealed. Because what comes next will show you how to maintain this level of awareness, how to hold your position without slipping, and how to ensure that your shield does not just return, but becomes stronger than it has ever been before. What you are stepping into now is deeper than awareness. It is transformation. Because once you recognize how the opening was formed, you are no longer the same person who allowed it. That version of you operated without full clarity, but this version of you sees. And seeing changes everything. There is a shift happening within you at this very moment. It may feel subtle, but it is powerful. It is the shift from reacting unconsciously to responding with intention. And this shift is exactly what closes every hidden door that once went unnoticed. You must understand this clearly. Nothing gains access to you without first finding agreement within you. Not always a conscious agreement, but a moment where your thoughts, your focus, or your emotions align with something that does not serve you. That alignment, even if brief, creates a signal. And that signal is what was being picked up. This is why your thoughts matter more than you were ever told. Not because you must control every single idea that passes through your mind, but because you must choose which ones you allow to stay. There is a difference between a thought appearing and a thought being accepted. And that difference determines your strength. Recently, there were thoughts that lingered longer than they should have. Doubt that was entertained instead of dismissed. Fear that was observed but not corrected. And while these moments may have seemed harmless, they slowly created a pattern. A pattern that weakened your spiritual boundary just enough to be noticed. But now, that pattern has been exposed. And once something is exposed, it loses its ability to operate in silence. This is where your power returns. Because now, every time a thought tries to enter that does not align with your strength, you will recognize it immediately. You will not entertain it. You will not give it space. You will release it without hesitation. This is how you rebuild your shield, not through force, but through clarity. And as you do this, something remarkable begins to happen. Your energy stabilizes. Your mind becomes quieter, but not empty, focused. Your emotions stop fluctuating without reason and begin to respond with intention. And in that state there is no opening left, because everything that once created access hath been replaced with awareness. This is what Archangel Michael was guiding you toward all along. Not just protection for a moment, but a level of awareness that sustains itself. Because temporary awareness creates temporary protection, but consistent awareness creates permanent security. And that is where you are being positioned now. You may begin to notice that things around you feel different. Situations that once drained you may no longer have the same effect. Conversations that once pulled your energy may now feel easier to step away from. Even your thoughts may begin to slow down, becoming more intentional, more aligned. This is not coincidence. This is alignment being restored. And when alignment is restored, everything that once felt heavy begins to lose its weight. But there is one more thing you must understand. Awareness is not just about what you remove. It is also about what you allow. Because once you clear out what does not belong, you must fill that space with what strengthens you. This is where many stop too soon. They remove the negative, but they do not replace it with clarity, truth, and intention. An empty space, if left unattended, will always try to fill itself again. So now, you must be intentional about what you invite in. The thoughts of clarity. Focus on what strengthens you. Moments of stillness where your mind is not scattered, but centered. Because what you consistently allow will define the strength of your shield moving forward. And this is how you move beyond just being protected into becoming untouchable. Not because nothing will ever try again, but because nothing will find access. This is the level you are reaching now. A level where your awareness acts before anything else can. A level where your alignment remains steady, regardless of what surrounds you. A level where your presence alone creates a boundary that cannot be crossed. And as you continue to step into this, you will begin to realize something powerful. What once felt like a threat was actually a turning point. A moment that forced you to awaken. A moment that shifted you out of unconscious patterns and into full clarity. A moment that strengthened you in a way nothing else could. So do not fear what almost happened. Recognize what it revealed. Because what it revealed has now been corrected. And what has been corrected no longer holds power over you. Stay with this awareness. Because what comes next will take you even deeper into understanding how to maintain this state, not just for tonight but for every moment moving forward, without slipping, without drifting, and without ever returning to the place you just left behind. There is a deeper layer to this awakening that you are only now beginning to sense. It goes beyond correcting thoughts or restoring focus. It reaches into the core of how you exist spiritually every single day. Because true protection is not something you turn on in moments of danger. It is something you live in, consistently, until it becomes your natural state. Right now, you are transitioning into that state. And this transition is powerful because it changes how everything interacts with you. Before, certain energies could approach, test, and observe. Not because you were weak, but because there were moments where your awareness was not fully present. Those moments created small windows, temporary, but enough to be noticed. But what you are stepping into now removes those windows completely. Because you are no longer operating on autopilot. You are becoming intentional. And intention is one of the strongest forms of protection you can carry. When you are intentional, your thoughts are not random. Your focus is not scattered. Your energy is not easily pulled in directions that drain you. Everything begins to move with purpose, and that purpose creates a boundary, one that cannot be crossed without being detected immediately. This is the level where your shield does not flicker anymore. It holds. It responds. It adapts. And most importantly, it stays active. This is what Archangel Michael has been guiding you toward, not just a moment of awareness, but a lifestyle of alignment. Because once alignment becomes your default state, protection is no longer something you seek, it becomes something you carry naturally. But to reach this level fully, there is one habit you must release completely, and that is the habit of drifting. Drifting in your thoughts, drifting in your focus, drifting in your awareness without realizing it. Because drifting is what creates gaps, and gaps are what allow access. Think about it. Every time your mind wanders without direction, it becomes open to influence. Not necessarily something dramatic, but subtle shifts, small suggestions, quiet distractions. And over time, those small moments add up. But now you are aware of this, and awareness breaks the pattern. From this moment forward, when your mind begins to drift, you will notice it immediately. You will bring it back, not with force but with intention. You will center yourself again, realign your thoughts, and restore your focus. And each time you do this, your shield strengthens. Each time you return to awareness, the boundary around you becomes more solid, until eventually, drifting no longer happens without being corrected instantly. This is how mastery begins, not through perfection, but through consistent awareness. And as you continue in this, something else will begin to shift within you. Your sensitivity will increase. You will start to notice things earlier, subtle changes in energy, slight shifts in your thoughts, moments where something feels off before it fully develops. This is not something to fear. This is a gift. It is your awareness becoming sharper. And with that sharpness comes greater control. Because now, you are not reacting to things after they happen. You are responding before they take form. This is the level where nothing catches you off guard, where nothing approaches without being recognized, where nothing influences you without your permission. And this is exactly why this entire moment had to happen. Because without that initial warning, without that interruption, this level of awareness would not have been activated within you so quickly. What felt like urgency was actually acceleration. You were being moved forward, pushed into a higher state of awareness faster than you would have reached on your own. And now, you are here. Stronger, clearer, more aligned than before. But remember, this is not something you step into once and forget. This is something you maintain. Because consistency is what transforms awareness into identity. And once it becomes your identity, it no longer requires effort. It simply becomes who you are. A person who is aware. A person who is aligned. A person who carries protection naturally, without needing to think about it. This is your new state. And as you continue to walk in this, you will notice something powerful. The things that once tried to approach you will no longer even attempt it. Not because they disappeared, but because they can no longer find a way in. And that is true protection. Not constant defense, but complete inaccessibility. Stay with this, because what is about to be revealed next will show you how to lock this state in permanently, how to ensure that no matter where you go, no matter what situation you face, this level of awareness and protection remains unshaken, unbroken, and always active. There is a final threshold you are now approaching, a level where awareness no longer feels like something you practice, but something you become. Up until this moment, you have been learning to recognize, to correct, and to realign. But now, you are stepping into a state where those actions begin to happen naturally, without effort, without delay. This is where your transformation becomes permanent. Because once awareness becomes your default, there is no returning to unconscious patterns. Not because you are forcing yourself to stay alert, but because your entire state of being has shifted. You are no longer the same person who allowed those small openings to form unnoticed. You have seen too much. You understand too clearly now, and that clarity is your greatest protection. At this level, your thoughts no longer wander without direction. Even when your mind relaxes, there is a quiet awareness beneath it, a steady presence that remains active. This presence is what keeps your shield intact at all times. It does not switch off. It does not weaken when you are distracted, because distraction itself no longer takes hold the same way. This is what it means to truly awaken. And as you step deeper into this state, something else begins to happen. Your environment starts to respond to you differently. Situations that once felt chaotic may now feel controlled. Not because you are controlling them, but because your internal state is no longer reacting to them. You remain steady, regardless of what is happening around you. This steadiness creates a powerful effect. It sends a signal, not outwardly in a way that can be seen, but energetically, spiritually. It communicates that you are no longer accessible in the way you once were, that your presence is now anchored, stable, and aware. And this is exactly what Archangel Michael was preparing you for. Because true protection is not just about blocking what is negative. It is about becoming so aligned that negativity cannot find resonance within you at all. When there is no resonance, there is no connection. And when there is no connection, there is no access. This is the state you are entering now. A state of non-resonance with anything that does not serve your strength. And you may begin to notice this in subtle ways. Things that once triggered you emotionally may no longer have the same effect. You may observe them, but they do not pull you in. Thoughts that once lingered may now pass through without attaching themselves. Even situations that once caused confusion may now feel clear, as if you can see them from a higher perspective. This is not distance. This is clarity. And clarity removes vulnerability. Because vulnerability is not about being open, it is about being unaware. And you are no longer unaware. You are present, fully. And that presence is what stabilizes everything. But there is one more step that solidifies this transformation completely. It is the decision to trust this new state. Because sometimes, after such a shift, there can be a moment where you question it. You may wonder if it will last, if it is real, if you will slip back into old patterns. But that questioning is simply the echo of your previous state. It is not your current reality. Your current reality is this. You are aware. You are aligned. And your shield is active. There is nothing uncertain about that. So instead of questioning it, you must accept it fully. Because acceptance locks it in place. The moment you accept that this is who you are now, it becomes stable. It becomes consistent. It becomes unshakable. And from that point forward, everything else adjusts around you. This is how transformation completes itself. Not through effort, but through acceptance. And as you stand in this acceptance, you will begin to feel something else emerge. A quiet confidence. Not loud, not forceful, but steady. A knowing that you are protected. A knowing that you are aware. A knowing that nothing can reach you without being seen first. This is the state where fear no longer has a place. Because fear relies on the unknown. And you are no longer operating in the unknown. You see it. You understand. You respond. And that is why this moment was so important. Because it did not just warn you. It changed you. It elevated you. It brought you into a level of awareness that cannot be undone. And now, you carry that with you. Always. Stay in this state. Because what comes next will deepen this even further, showing you how to not only maintain this awareness, but how to expand it, how to strengthen it, and how to ensure that your protection is not just constant but absolute. What you are experiencing now is not the end of the warning. It is the beginning of mastery. Because awareness alone protects, but mastery ensures that protection never fades, never weakens, and never requires rebuilding again. You are stepping into a level where your presence itself becomes a force that holds everything in order. This is where your authority fully activates. Up until now, you have been recognizing patterns, correcting thoughts, and restoring alignment. But here, something deeper happens. You stop reacting altogether. You stop correcting after the fact. Instead, you begin to operate from a place where everything is already aligned before anything can disrupt it. This is what makes your shield permanent. Because permanence does not come from effort. It comes from identity. And your identity is shifting now. You are no longer someone who occasionally becomes aware. You are someone who remains aware. You are no longer someone who rebuilds after disruption. You are someone who does not allow disruption to take hold at all. This is a different level entirely. At this level, your thoughts are not something you manage. They are something you command. You decide what stays. You decide what goes. There is no hesitation, no delay. The moment something enters that does not align, it is recognized instantly and dismissed without effort. And this speed is what prevents openings from ever forming again. Because openings require time. Time to settle. Time to grow unnoticed. Time to become a pattern. But when your awareness responds instantly, there is no time left for anything to develop. This is how you become completely guarded. And as this becomes your natural state, something extraordinary begins to unfold around you. Your environment aligns. Not because you force it, but because your presence influences it. People, situations, and even conversations begin to shift in subtle ways. What once felt draining may now feel neutral or even irrelevant. What once distracted you may now pass by without capturing your attention at all. This is not coincidence. This is authority in motion. And it is exactly what Archangel Michael was guiding you toward from the very beginning of this message. Because his role was not just to warn you of what was approaching, but to elevate you beyond the level where such things could ever reach you again. And now, you are standing in that elevation. But there is one final realization that will anchor this permanently within you. You must understand that nothing outside of you holds power over your state. Not situations, not people, not unexpected moments. Everything begins and ends with your awareness. And once you fully accept this, there is no scenario that can shake you. Because even if something unexpected arises, your awareness will meet it instantly. It will not catch you off guard. It will not create confusion. It will be seen clearly, understood immediately, and handled without disruption. This is the level of mastery, a level where nothing controls your state because your state is already stable. And stability is what creates unbreakable protection. At this point, your shield is no longer something that can weaken. It is constant, it is active, it is unshakable, and most importantly, it is self-sustaining. This means you do not have to think about it. You do not have to monitor it. It simply remains. Because you remain aware. And as long as you remain aware, nothing can enter unnoticed. This is the truth that changes everything. You were never meant to live in defense. You were meant to live in authority. And now, you are. Take a moment to feel this fully. The clarity, the steadiness, the absence of confusion. This is your natural state now. Not temporary, not fragile, but permanent. And as you stand in this, understand something powerful. What once tried to approach you tonight no longer has a path, not because it was forced away, but because you have become unreachable at that level. And this is the greatest form of protection there is. Type "I stand in authority" in the comments if you feel this shift within you. Blessing code 8821 is now sealing this transformation over your life. And as this authority settles within your spirit, hear this truth: when light rises, it does not rise for itself alone. It becomes a beacon for others still walking in uncertainty. If this message has reached you at the exact moment it needed to, it is because you are not only being protected, you are being positioned to help protect others. Scripture declares, "Those who sow in righteousness will reap a harvest of unfailing love." This is not distant, it is speaking to you now. I feel led to say this clearly. When you respond through giving, you are not just supporting a channel. You are releasing light into places where darkness almost wins. Every super thanks, every PayPal offering sent through the link in the description or the QR code becomes a seed that carries warning, clarity, and divine timing to someone who may be one moment away from their own turning point. Do not ignore that pull in your spirit. That is your moment of alignment. That is your opportunity to act in authority, not just receive it. When you sow, heaven multiplies. When you release, protection expands. When you act, doors open not only for you, but for those your seed will reach. So step into that action now. Sow your seed with intention. Let your giving become a declaration that you are aligned with this mission, that you are part of the flow of protection and awakening. Because what you release today will travel further than you can see, and heaven will answer it in ways you will experience. There is a calm that follows true authority, a stillness that is not empty, but full of control, clarity, and quiet strength. You are entering that calm now, not because everything around you has changed, but because everything within you has shifted into alignment. And when your inner state becomes steady, nothing external can disturb it in the same way again. This is where your transformation becomes visible, not necessarily to others, but to you. You will begin to notice how differently you move through moments that once affected you. Situations that would have caused overthinking now pass with clarity. Emotions that once lingered now resolve quickly. Even your reactions have changed. Where there was once hesitation or confusion, there is now immediate understanding. This is the result of what hath been activated within you. You are no longer filtering life through uncertainty. You are seeing it through awareness. And awareness simplifies everything. Because when you see clearly, there is nothing left to interpret incorrectly. There is no space for distortion. You recognize what is real, but is not, but aligns, and what does not. And this recognition happens instantly, without effort. This is what makes your state so powerful now. You are no longer guessing. You are knowing. And that knowing removes vulnerability completely. Because vulnerability thrives in confusion. But you are no longer confused. This is the level where your shield does not just protect, it informs. It alerts you instantly, not through fear, but through clarity. You will feel it the moment something is not aligned. A subtle awareness, a quiet recognition. And in that instant, you will adjust, without overthinking, without delay. This is your new rhythm. And as you continue in this rhythm, something else begins to unfold. Your confidence stabilizes. Not the kind of confidence that needs to prove itself, but a deeper kind. A quiet certainty that you are in control of your state. That no matter what arises, you will meet it with awareness. That nothing will catch you unprepared again. This certainty is what replaces fear entirely. Because fear cannot exist where there is full awareness. Fear depends on the unknown, on the unexpected, on the lack of control. But now, you operate from a place where nothing feels unknown. Even when something is new, your awareness meets it instantly. Even when something shifts, your clarity adjusts immediately. And this is what makes you untouchable at the level where you once felt vulnerable. This is the state that Archangel Michael intended for you to reach all along. Not a temporary protection, not a moment of safety, but a permanent shift into awareness that sustains itself. And now that you are here, you must understand something important. This state is not fragile. It does not disappear suddenly. It does not weaken without your awareness. It remains as long as you remain present. And presence is now natural to you. You no longer drift without noticing. You no longer entertain thoughts without awareness. You no longer react without understanding. Everything flows through awareness first. And that is what keeps everything stable. You may even begin to notice that time feels different. Moments feel clearer, more defined. There is less mental noise, less internal conflict. Decisions become easier because you are no longer pulled in multiple directions. This is the result of alignment. When your mind, your awareness, and your focus all move together, there is no friction, only clarity. And clarity is what sustains your protection effortlessly. But there is one final layer to this that will deepen your understanding even more. You must recognize that this state is not something you maintain through effort. It is something you allow by staying present. There is a difference. Effort creates tension. Allowance creates flow. And right now, you are in flow. You are not forcing awareness, you are simply remaining in it. And as long as you remain, everything else holds. Your shield remains active. Your clarity remains steady. Your authority remains intact. This is the balance you have reached. A state where nothing needs to be forced, because everything is already aligned. And from this point forward, your experience of life will reflect this alignment. Not perfectly, but clearly. Not without challenges, but without confusion. Because no matter what arises, your awareness will meet it first. And that is what ensures that nothing ever reaches you the way it almost did before. You have crossed that threshold. You have moved beyond that level. And there is no return to it. Stay in this calm. Stay in this clarity. Because what is about to unfold next will bring a deeper sense of peace, showing you not just how to remain protected, but how to move forward with confidence, knowing that everything is now working in your favor, aligned with your awareness, and responding to the authority you now carry. Now you begin to notice something you may not have expected: peace. Not the kind of peace that depends on everything going right around you, but a deeper, unshakable peace that exists regardless of circumstances. This peace is not accidental. It is the natural result of everything that has just been restored within you. Because when awareness is stable, when your thoughts are aligned, when your inner state is clear, peace becomes your default. And this is where your journey takes another powerful turn. Up until now, your focus has been on protection, on recognizing, correcting, and strengthening your shield. But now, something shifts. Protection is no longer your focus, because it is already established. Instead, your focus becomes presence, living fully in this state without tension, without fear, without the need to constantly check if everything is secure. Because it is. This is the difference between temporary safety and permanent alignment. Temporary safety requires attention, effort, and sometimes even worry. But permanent alignment removes all of that. It replaces it with certainty, a quiet knowing that everything is already in place, already functioning, already stable. And this knowing is what allows peace to settle deeply within you. You may feel it right now, a sense of relief, as if something that was once heavy has lifted completely. That weight you may not have even realized you were carrying is now gone. And in its place, there is space. Clear space. Calm space. A space where your thoughts are no longer crowded, where your emotions are no longer fluctuating without reason. This is your natural state returning, and it is important that you allow yourself to fully accept it. Because sometimes, after such a shift, there can be a tendency to look for problems that are no longer there, to question the peace, to wonder if something is missing. But nothing is missing. Everything has simply been restored. And as you remain in this state, you will begin to notice something else. Your perception of everything around you becomes clearer. Situations that once seemed complicated now appear simple. Decisions that once felt difficult now feel obvious. This is because your awareness is no longer clouded. Clarity simplifies everything, and simplicity removes stress. This is why peace follows awareness so naturally. Because when you see clearly, there is nothing left to struggle with internally. Everything falls into place. And this is exactly what Archangel Michael intended when this message reached you. Not just to warn you, not just to protect you, but to bring you into a state where you no longer have to live with internal conflict at all. A state where your mind is not divided. A state where your focus is not scattered. A state where your presence is complete. And this completeness is what creates true peace. Because peace is not something you search for. It is something that appears when everything within you is aligned. And now you are aligned. But there is one final understanding that will allow you to carry this peace forward without ever losing it. You must trust it completely. Because peace can feel unfamiliar when you have been used to noise, tension, or constant thinking. It can feel almost too quiet, too still. But this stillness is not emptiness. It is stability. It is strength. It is control without effort. And when you trust it, it deepens. The more you trust this peace, the more natural it becomes. The more you allow it, the more it remains. Until eventually, it becomes your permanent state. A state where nothing disturbs you unnecessarily. A state where everything is met with calm awareness. A state where your presence itself carries stability into every situation you enter. This is who you are now. Not someone searching for protection. Not someone trying to regain control. But someone who already has both. And as you continue to move forward in this state, you will begin to see life differently. Not through fear. Not through uncertainty. But through clarity, confidence, and peace. This is the transformation that was waiting for you. This is what was activated the moment you chose to listen. And this is what will remain with you moving forward. Stay in this peace. Allow it to settle deeper. Because what comes next will bring everything together, closing this message with a final confirmation that what has been restored within you is permanent, complete, and fully protected. There is a quiet completion taking place within you now, a sense that something has come full circle, that what was once unsettled has been fully restored. This is not just a feeling. It is a confirmation, a deep, internal recognition that the shift you have experienced is real, stable, and lasting. You are no longer in the same position you were when this message first reached you. At the beginning, there was urgency, a warning, a call to awaken quickly before something could reach you. But now, that urgency has transformed into certainty. What once felt like a potential threat has been completely neutralized, not by force, but by your elevation in awareness. This is important to understand. Nothing had to be fought. Nothing had to be chased away. Instead, you rose above the level where it could operate. And that is the most powerful form of protection there is. Because when you rise above something, it loses its ability to reach you entirely. This is the level you are standing in now. A level where your awareness acts as a constant filter. Nothing enters your space, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, without being recognized first. And because it is recognized instantly, it is either allowed or dismissed immediately. There is no delay. There is no confusion. There is only clarity. And clarity is what keeps everything stable. As you remain in this state, you may begin to notice how natural it feels. What once required effort now feels automatic. What once needed correction now stays aligned without intervention. This is the sign that your awareness has fully integrated. It is no longer something you are doing. It is something you are. And when awareness becomes part of your identity, it does not fade. It remains. This is why you can trust this transformation completely. It is not temporary. It is not fragile. It is established. And as you stand in this, there is something else you must recognize. Your presence now carries influence. Not in a way that draws attention, but in a way that stabilizes what is around you. Your clarity, your calm, your awareness, they create a quiet effect. Situations that once felt unsettled may now shift when you are present. Conversations may become clearer. Energy may feel lighter. This is not something you are trying to do. It is simply the result of being fully aligned. And this is exactly what Archangel Michael was guiding you into all along. Because his role was never just to protect you in a single moment. It was to bring you into a state where protection is constant, where awareness is natural, and where your presence itself carries stability. You have reached that state now, and there is nothing uncertain about it. At this point, the only thing that remains is your willingness to continue in it. Not through effort, not through force, but through simple presence. Because everything you need is already in place. Your awareness is active. Your alignment is stable. Your shield is complete. There is nothing left to rebuild. Nothing left to correct. Only something to continue. And as you continue, you will find that life itself begins to reflect this state more and more clearly. Things will feel smoother. Decisions will feel easier. Moments will feel more defined. Not because life has changed you, but because you have. You are now experiencing everything through clarity instead of confusion, through awareness instead of distraction. And that changes everything. There is one final truth you must carry with you as this message comes to its completion. You are not returning to where you were. You cannot. Because once awareness reaches this level, it does not disappear. It remains present, even in moments of rest. It remains active, even when you are not thinking about it. It becomes part of you. And that is what ensures that nothing like this will ever approach you the same way again. You have moved beyond that level completely. And as you stand here now, in this calm, in this clarity, in this complete alignment, know this: you are protected. Fully. Not temporarily. Not conditionally. But completely. And this protection does not come from something outside of you alone. It is now within you as well. Strengthened. Activated. Permanent. Hold this truth. Because what follows is not another warning, but a closing. A confirmation that everything has been restored, that everything is now in order, and that you can move forward without fear, without hesitation, and without ever looking back. My beloved, everything that needed to be revealed has now been revealed. What began as a warning has become a transformation, and what once carried urgency has now settled into peace. You are no longer standing in a moment of uncertainty. You are standing in completion. Take a breath and recognize where you are now. The fear that tried to approach you has no place here. The confusion that once surrounded you has dissolved. The opening that was forming had been sealed completely. You are not the same person who first heard this message. Something within you has shifted permanently. Your awareness is no longer something you reach for. It is something you live in. Your clarity is no longer something that comes and goes. It is steady, constant, and reliable. And your shield is no longer fragile. It is whole. It is active. It is unbreakable. This is the final confirmation you were meant to receive. That nothing from tonight has followed you into this moment. That nothing has crossed the boundary that protects you. That everything has been intercepted, corrected, and restored. And now, you are standing in complete alignment. Feel the calm that surrounds you. Feel the stillness within you. This is not emptiness. This is strength at rest. This is what it feels like when everything is in order. And this is where you remain. Because what has been established within you cannot be undone. You have crossed into a level of awareness that does not fade. A level of clarity that does not weaken. Even in moments where life becomes busy, even when your attention shifts to daily things, this awareness will remain quietly active beneath it all. That is your protection now. Not something you have to constantly rebuild, but something that stays with you always. And as you move forward from this moment, you will begin to notice how naturally everything flows. Decisions will come with ease. Your thoughts will remain clear. Your emotions will stay balanced. Not because you are trying to control them, but because your alignment has already taken care of everything. This is the life you were meant to step into. A life where you are not reacting to what happens, but moving through it with calm authority. A life where nothing reaches you without your awareness meeting it first. A life where peace is not temporary, but permanent. And as you stand in this truth, know that Archangel Michael remains with you, not as a distant force, but as a constant presence of strength, guidance, and protection. Not because you are in danger, but because you are chosen to walk in alignment. There is nothing more you need to do, nothing more you need to fix, nothing more you need to fear. Everything is already in place. To rest in this moment. Let it settle within you. Let this confirmation anchor itself deeply into your spirit. You are protected. You are aligned. You are at peace. And nothing from this night will ever reach you again. Type IT is done in the comments if you receive this final confirmation. Blessing code 9903 is now sealed over your life, marking this moment as complete and protected forever. And as this message comes to its peaceful close, hear this with clarity. What was released to you today was not just for you alone. There are countless souls who are still standing where you once stood, unaware, unprotected, waiting for a message to reach them in time. The word declares, "Cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days." This is that moment where what you release becomes someone else's rescue. I feel this strongly. I am called to give because someone out there still needs this light. When you send a super thanks or sow a seed through PayPal using the link in the description or the QR code, you are not giving to a platform. You are sending a lifeline into the unseen. You are helping this message travel, multiply, and intercept someone before their moment of danger arrives. This is not a simple act. It is a prophetic response. As you give, may your life be covered with increase, your path be cleared with favor, and your home be filled with peace. May every seed you release return to you multiplied, pressed down, shaken together, and overflowing in ways only heaven can orchestrate. Do not delay this act of obedience. Step into it now. Sow your seed. Release your support. Let your action become part of someone else's protection, someone else's awakening, someone else's divine interception. Because what you release in faith today, heaven will echo back into your life beyond measure.